Welcome to Really American. I am Michael Hayne. I hope you all had a great weekend. I know I, for one, have marked myself safe from having to hear the rantings and ravings of a senile, criminal fascist lunatic talking about a deceased golfer's penis size, as well as pretending to actually work a day in his life at McDonald's. Speaking of which...
Oh, baby, it's so big. I wish I had a dong like this.
My apologies. I guess he was preparing for his prison cafeteria role in 2025. And McDonald's, when we asked for the clown back, this isn't the one we meant. Ronald McDonald, just so you know. Anyway, President Barack Obama has been lending his star power quite considerably as of late to Vice President Kamala Harris. He has been appearing at several critical rallies in several crucial swing states. And this past weekend, he did so in Nevada, where he spoke at a rally in Las Vegas, and he happened to crucify Trumpy Dumpty. If he's Orange Jesus, well, he just crucified him, because he spoke at great length at how Trumpy Dumpty completely and utterly ignored the plague, the COVID-19. Not only that, but disregarded the entire playbook that his competent administration left for him. Let's take a look at some of that.
Listen, when I was president, I'll give you just one other example. And I want you to use this example when you're talking to folks who say it's not going to make any difference. I had been talking to scientists for a while, and so in my last year in office, we put together a playbook for how to deal with the eventuality of a pandemic. Because
Playbook? What's a playbook? I have a concept of a playbook. And by the way, only communists read.
Do go on, intelligent former president.
Because scientists had been saying with globalization and travel, etc., rising populations, that at some point there was going to be a pandemic. And so I said to my team, I said, we got to have a plan, just like you do for hurricanes or tornadoes or natural disasters. So we put together this whole playbook. And we practiced the playbook. We'd get all the agencies. This is how we're going to respond. This is how to make sure that the public health systems in all the states are working. Here's how we're going to think about the schools. And when Donald Trump came in, we gave over this playbook to them. And but the point is, he ignored it.
Yeah, but I threw it away in a beautiful garbage can.
The thing is, not only did he toss out the playbook that would have clearly had been useful to any normal, sensible, non-malignant, narcissistic psychopath who happened to hijack the presidency, it would have spared countless American lives that happened to unfortunately and mistakenly die due to gross incompetence. Case in point, I don't know, defunding key U.S. health agencies like the CDC. He cut it by 2/3, which was operating within China, which would help obviously tremendously when it came to mitigating the initial consequences of COVID. Let's take a look at that.
And to obliterate the entire infrastructure of pandemic response that the Obama administration had created. Why did he do it? Well, it certainly wasn't about the money, because it wasn't a heavily funded program. It was certainly because it was Obama's program.
And explain, you're talking...
Wait a minute, smart science lady. Hold up. You're trying to tell me that Trump chose to be a vindictive, vengeful, spiteful sociopath over actually continuing any policies that are popular and then actually help human beings and prevent massive amounts of harm? He would do that?
Just one day after Donald Trump's election win, more than 100,000 Americans rushed to buy health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. Wednesday marked the biggest turnout during the sign-up period so far this year. The New York Times says this surge in activity underscored the significance of any change to President Obama's health care law. President-elect Donald Trump and his allies have been attacking Obamacare, promising to repeal the law, and even the healthcare industry appears to be concerned. A repeal of the act would mean losing millions of customers for insurance companies and a flood of uninsured people in hospital emergency rooms for basic care.
Ah, yes, Obamacare. Well, that's actually what Republicans called it. It's actually called the Affordable Care Act. They were hoping to tie President Barack Obama's name to it in hopes that it would be a disaster, because you see, that's what Republicans do. They love to defund popular things that will actually help people in the hopes that they then become disastrous by virtue of lack of funding. And they could say, hey, see, we told you so. They're basically like the asshole that will push a kid in the pool, rescue and drown him, and be like, hey, look what we did. Aren't we heroes? And Trump is like the epitome of that. So they tried killing this like countless times. I like lost track of the amount of times they tried repealing Obamacare. It never worked. It was a law of the land. And then Trump ferociously campaigned, we're going to repeal and replace. Beautiful policy. Never happened. Never laid out a plan. Never put out position papers. Nothing on a website. Anything that a credible human being, nonetheless an actual leader of the free world, would want to do in that regard. Not only that, but he actually was trying to kill Obamacare as COVID was happening, as we were losing lives. He was going to even worsen it even more. You can imagine that. But now what's interesting about Obamacare is that even though Trumpy Dumpty had ridiculously, spouted nonstop lies and wanted to get rid of it, now he's actually trying to take credit for it.
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the...
Always again with, we had terrific people. You literally had more turnover than McDonald's, okay? You had the most disastrous, incompetent team of other sociopaths. You had a few good people, and those are the ones that you immediately got rid of, like Rex Tillerson, like John Kelly, those kind of people. Anyway, former President Obama's comments simply highlight the significance of preparedness and leadership in managing a crisis, and how the emphasis that despite the inevitability of a pandemic, a well-prepared administration could have significantly, vastly mitigated its impact. So by contrasting the U.S. response with that of, say, Canada, even South Korea, President Barack Obama underscores the tangible consequences of leadership decisions, suggesting that actually having competent, effective governance, not petty grievances of a senile, malignant narcissist, that could have saved many lives. It serves as a constant reminder of the critical role that competent, stable, experienced, normal, sensible, sympathetic leadership plays into public health outcomes. And that is why it's essential to vociferously support Kamala Harris and vote for her in November. I am Michael Hayne. This is Really American. Please subscribe to our channel and check me out on my latest TikTok at Mike Hayne Comedian.